First, the appearance of the People's Liberation Army soldiers on the streets of Hong Kong to clear roads damaged by the protesters and rioters. Then, the standoff between police and rioters on the campus of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University that started on Sunday night. Now, first on Saturday afternoon, People's Liberation Army soldiers stationed in Hong Kong left their barracks to help clean up rubble that was blocking the city's streets. Members of the PLA have been in Hong Kong since the city was handed back to Chinese rule in 1997, but have only emerged from their barracks twice in the past 22 years, the first time being last year when they helped in the aftermath of a major typhoon. Then, an unknown number of protesters and rioters started occupying parts of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University campus last week. But the situation escalated on Sunday as rioters tried to face off police using a variety of improvised weaponry and dangerous items, including bricks, firebombs, homemade napalm, and bows and arrows. One police officer was injured by an arrow which almost penetrated his leg. Speaking on Tuesday, Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam said that more than 600 people had surrendered at the university and that universities have become weapons factories now, and they look like military training grounds. The Hong Kong police announced on Tuesday that in the past day, the police arrested around 1,100 people for offences, including taking part in riots. Those who laid down their arms and surrendered were either arrested or registered and set free, depending on their age. So far, no deaths has been reported because of the standoff. But if you look at the international coverage of the situation, you might get a totally different understanding. For instance, on the campus standoff, you'd think those who occupy the campus were innocent students or even heroes, given the language used to describe the standoff. And that leads to my first example, the New York Times. On Monday, November the 18th, the paper published a story with the headline, "In Hong Kong, Daring Escapes from a Violent Siege at a University." Let's break down this headline one word at a time, starting with daring escapes. Now, daring means bold, courageous, or adventurous, or adjectives with positive connotations, as if the students who'd been hoarding homemade firebombs, giant slingshots, bricks and arrows and bones inside the campus. These are not toys, okay? But according to the article, that sounds like the students should be celebrated for their bravery. I can think of a few other words that would be a bit more accurate. Now, escapes, also misleading, since the article states that police officers have offered protesters one way out of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University campus, but they fear following these instructions could lead to their arrest. And despite running out of options, the students fear they will be arrested if they obeyed police instructions to drop their weapons and leave through one designated exit. So actually, there was no need for them to escape. The police offered a way out on the condition that the rioters drop their weapons, meaning the rioters who tried to escape either did not want to drop their weapons or who were afraid of being arrested. But it doesn't really work that way, does it? What kind of a police force would allow rioters to walk out armed with firebombs and bricks? What kind of a society would not arrest rioters who hijacked a university, turning it into a weapons factory and using it as a base to harm police officers? Where in the world will people be allowed to ransack a place and get away with it? By glamorizing those who break the law, whatever the motivations, whether students or not, the New York Times unfortunately failed to tell the true story. Our next example comes from the Washington Post, with a story also published on Monday, November the 18th. Now, Hong Kong protesters made last stand as police close in on besieged university. Never mind that by using last stand, the headline makes the protesters out to be some kind of gallant heroes who are faced with overwhelming odds. Let's get to the article this time. We need look no further than the first paragraph, which says thousands of Hong Kong protesters flocked to the area around a besieged Hong Kong College campus Monday evening, clashing with police as they try to help hundreds of students trapped inside to leave safely. Hundreds of students trapped inside. Well, 2 points I want to make. First of all, many of the people trapped inside were not students at all, so it was premature to characterize them as such. Secondly, when students are armed with bows and arrows, bricks and stolen chemicals from the school's laboratory, among other weapons, can we still call them students? Call them protesters, sure, but students give people the impression that they're innocent and vulnerable and thus worthy of people's sympathy. The damage and harm that had been done by some of these young students is actually quite obvious. We all saw the picture of the man who aimed a bow and arrow in full stretch at police. He was clearly an adult with strong muscles. I've never met such kind of a student before. Have you? Maybe in the US. The article mentions the students are trapped inside 6 times. To me, saying they're trapped makes it sound as if they are helpless victims without any option to leave the campus they chose to occupy in the first place. But the very same article then later explains that the police actually did offer the rioters a way out. Police blocked access and told exhausted protesters to come out of the Polytechnic University on Monday to be arrested. And late Monday, a deal was reached between the police and mediators to allow those under 18 still sealed off inside Polytechnic University to leave safely without arrest. So these people stayed inside the campus to avoid arrest. Basically, they're trapped by their own criminal behavior. And those under 18 were given the option to leave without being arrested. Let's not forget, a minor is fully capable of breaking the law. But I understand the leniency exercised here. After all, one of the 2 principles set by the SAR government and police is humanitarianism. But if you didn't take the time to read the entire article, you could easily walk away with only a biased slice of the whole story. By phrasing the beginning of the article this way, the journalist is hinting to the reader who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. Our final article today is just one of many international media outlets reporting on the PLA soldiers. The Guardian on November the 18th published a story with the headline, Hong Kong protesters wary over elite troops clearing roadblocks. The article begins by outlining the events of the day in a rather matter-of-fact way in my eyes. It adds that when a local journalist asked one of the PLA officers what the group was doing, he responded, "We volunteered. Stopping violence and ending chaos is our responsibility. We are spreading positive energy." But the editorializing quickly sets in. For many, the article says, in Hong Kong, the message was not a positive one. Pro-democracy activists interpreted it as an attempt to intervene in the city's affairs. Amid Hong Kong's quickly escalating political crisis, anti-government protests that are now in their 6th month, many interpreted it as an ominous warning. So the article says many people interpreted the move as ominous. But then who does the article quote to back up this claim? A professor based in London. Not very convincing, huh? On the other hand, what about the local residents who loudly cheered the soldiers when they came out? If not many people cheered, at least some cheered very loudly and right in front of the eyes of the journalists, including that local one who questioned the PLA officer. Somehow, the journalists forgot to include the reactions from the people there. I wonder how they would interpret the move by I wonder how would these local people interpret the move of these soldiers? Maybe an auspicious sign that these soldiers stand with the people of Hong Kong? Maybe something else, but definitely not an ominous warning. Actually, all of this is beside the point. The PLA officers are not the ones threatening the safety and well-being of Hong Kong. The rioters are. This piece of information is, of course, nowhere to be found in the Guardian article. A quick note on this topic. We originally wanted to dissect another New York Times headline that reads, "Chinese troops clean Hong Kong streets, prompting fears," in which the journalists called the events a tightly choreographed photo op that threatened to upend a fragile calm in a city bracing for more unrest. Think about all of the words, all of the contradicting messages packed in here. So the soldiers coming out to clean the street pose a threat to the calm in the city. I was wondering just how that claim could be made before a few days later, when the story mysteriously disappeared and was replaced with a completely different one. Well, I won't miss it.